Everybody was so excited about battery day, but what happened? Tesla is down over 8% right now. That's a real lackluster response for something that everybody's been waiting for. So could it be an inflection point? Maybe. Could very well determine where the price is headed from here. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video, whether or not we need to be worried about Tesla dropping even more. And just as a reminder, if you want to see how we've been playing Tesla, we're in it right now actually, check out our free training. There's a link in this video and down below in the description and comments. It'll teach you the strategy that I myself use and all our Fallible members use as well. You can see in this example right here, this is Tesla. So it'll show you how we're playing it and how we're making money on it. And we're up over 55% this year in our portfolio, so it's working pretty well. And that's not just on Tesla, that's on a bunch of different stocks. So definitely check that out. So what do we talked about when we talk about Tesla? We talk about inflection points. That's something you always gotta watch in really any stock, not just Tesla. But what's an inflection point? Well, it's a point where some fundamental news comes out about a company and then you watch how the stock price reacts. So a good example with Tesla itself is back on August 31st and September 1st. August 31st, there was that big stock split, right? And then September 1st, there was more shares issued. So those are two pretty big fundamental events that happened to Tesla, and we could see how the stock price reacted. Happy about the stock split, not so happy about the new share offering. And really, it's not as cut and dry as that. You know, you just can't look at one day's worth of reaction and know. But if you look at the trend, Tesla did turn around after those two announcements. And what we talked about in the last video is how that is bearish. Now, of course, we also talked about how the general market was turning around at the same time. Tesla just turned around a little faster. So like I said, I wish it was so simple, but it's not as cut and dry. But the reason that inflection points are important is because you see first the fundamental news, and then through the price action, you see how investors reacted to that news. And that's super important because fundamental news or anything in the stock market by itself, it doesn't matter. If I tell you a company is making $200 million a year, can you then turn around and tell me what the stock price should be? No, you can't, because the stock market is basically a betting machine with hundreds of millions of people. And it's their expectations that are going to move the stock prices, how they're betting, where they're putting their money. So again, the way you would read this, okay, two fundamental events right here, and then the stock price turned around. People didn't like it. That would be bearish. And whether investors like something or not is usually based off their expectations. And once again, going back to markets, all based off expectations. So for example, if a stock releases its earnings report and they say, hey, we did great, we're making $4 a share. Well, if investors were expecting $4.50 a share, then they're not going to be happy with that release, even though the company is making money and is positive. That's when you'll see the stock price tumble because they start selling. So in this case, with the stock split and the new offering, investors' expectations were not met. Stock price fell. So it's in those particular inflection points that you can get a good idea about where the stock price is headed. And battery day is another one of those inflection points. So what did Elon talk about at battery day? Well, Tesla plans to manufacture its own tabless batteries, which will improve all the Tesla vehicles' range and power. It'll also reduce cost, which is important because then they could get their electric cars closer to gasoline-powered cars in terms of price. So tabless batteries, what that means is that they're removing the tab that connects the cell and what it's powering. Now, as far as the science behind how that works and why it's better for the batteries, I can't help you there. But it makes these batteries 6 times more powerful and increases their range by 16%. And they're cheaper. So for me, being stupid, I read that as, okay, great, the battery is getting better. They're improving their battery technology. Currently, they source their batteries from Panasonic, which they're going to continue to do. And in fact, Elon tweeted that they're going to buy even more in the meantime. But they want to take all this production of batteries in-house so that there's less delays, because Panasonic was holding them back last time just because they couldn't produce enough batteries. That was for the Model 3 and Model Y. They also revealed that the Model S Plaid is going to cost almost $140,000, which is nuts. But it has a range of 520 miles and goes from 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds. Also has a top speed of 200 miles per hour. So this is a step up from the Ludicrous model. And if you're wondering where they're getting these names from, Plaid, Ludicrous, it's all from Spaceballs, the movie. They also have a new cathode plant coming. They haven't said where it's going to be built or when it's coming, but it will be in North America. And the idea is to reduce costs even more. So they're making improvements to their cathode process so that they become 76% cheaper and produce zero wastewater. Another thing they're doing is getting rid of cobalt in the cathodes. Reason they don't like cobalt is because it's mined under conditions that violate human rights. I guess it's tough to source cobalt properly. And another benefit apart from not supporting human rights violations is that it's going to make the batteries even cheaper. And the goal with all of this, all this cost cutting and the improvement in technology, is to get to a $25,000 car. That's really important because affordability is the key to how we scale. Elon tweeted a little bit about this too. He said the extreme difficulty of scaling production of new technology is not well understood. It's 1,000% to 10,000% harder than making a few prototypes. That's funny. Is that shot at Nikola. The machine that makes the machine is vastly harder than the machine itself. And that's something that I think most people don't understand when they look at a car company like Tesla. Tesla is doing two very hard things. The first thing is creating all this new technology for all these new cars. Like we just explained here, they're constantly improving battery technology. They're on the forefront of it. It's not even a car company, it's like a battery company. That's hard enough by itself. But then on top of that, you got to figure out how to produce these things and how to scale it properly. And scaling is not easy. People think, oh, you made one, why can't you make 1,000? And that's just not how it works. You run into so many problems at every small level up. And you do your best to build a system so it can handle it, but inevitably, that's what's gonna happen. You hit a problem, you gotta solve it, and then keep going, and it takes a really, really long time. And that's the reason why Tesla has been around for so long and they still don't have that mass market car. It's not because they're stupid, because they're still on the forefront, it just takes that long. Even in my business, say with this YouTube channel, we've been doing it for a few years now and we're still pretty small. And we still have plans in place that is gonna make our community and our channel look way different in the future than it is right now. But it's been taking forever to do. Not because we're not working, but just because it takes time to build this stuff and scale. And this is a simple YouTube channel business type thing. I'm not creating cars, I'm not creating new technology that no one has done before. So you can only imagine how difficult Elon's job is. But it's fun to watch in real time because when they talk about affordability, that's the key to how we scale. Well, we've been watching them scale for years and it's like a master class on how to do it. It's always fun to watch someone like Elon who is not only great at business, but is a genius too when it comes to inventions. Tough to put those two things together. But anyway, those were the announcements at Battery Day, which I don't know, depending on how you feel about batteries, that might be exciting or it might not be. And according to the market, it was not exciting, which is why Tesla is down 9% after that announcement. So going back to what we know about inflection points, what happened here? Well, you could say that investors were expecting something huge out of Battery Day. And if you watch TikTok investors, then you know they were. And the updates that Elon gave, I guess it didn't do it for them, which is why you're seeing this selling. And if you look at the updates objectively, sounds great. They're really making progress on battery technology. Things are getting cheaper. They're well on their way to doing what they need to do. But investors aren't impressed. So is this an inflection point? To that, I would say maybe. There's a few different things that could happen from here if we're looking at the chart. You'll see that, after the previous inflection points they were talking about, the stock dropped until it went and hit its 50-day moving average right here. And the 50-day moving average normally acts as a support line, which is exactly what it did here. The stock rebounded. And there's no magic around this 50-day average line. It's just a psychological marker that a lot of people cue off of. So you can see the stock price did rebound after all of that, hung around, and now it's dropping again. So again, one way to look at this is that the stock could go and hit this 50-day again, which it looks like it's well on its way. And if it does, then you want to watch. Is it going to find support there once again, or is it going to break through? If it breaks through, that is going to be a very bearish signal. And this tends to happen with stocks too. They'll go and touch that 50-day or that support, rebound off, not make it all the way back up to their previous high. Instead, they make it halfway, turn around, go test it again. So it'll keep going back and testing that same line. It could rebound again, go back to this point and test it for a third time. And what you're watching each time is it going to break this yellow line, the 50-day moving average? So that's what you can kind of watch in the aftermath here of Battery Day. And as I said before, the market isn't as cut and dry as just like one day after Battery Day. The market processes all the information and this is all that's going to happen. If that was the case, stocks wouldn't move in trends at all because it takes time to digest all the information. Another factor to consider though is the overall market. If you go to the NASDAQ right now, we're down another percent today. You can see we're under the NASDAQ's 50-day moving average. And we've been like this the entire month. And we could do all the analysis we want on Tesla, but we'd be idiots not to think about the overall market because the overall market has way more influence on individual stocks than you think. So if you're only focused on the individual stock, then you're kind of missing the forest for the trees. So that's another factor to consider. So if we saw this type of drop on Battery Day and the stock market was still looking like this period right here, going up every day, then we could say that this Battery Day inflection point was a much stronger signal. Because if you see a stock going bearish in a bullish market, that's not good. Because if you see a stock market dropping in a market that's going straight up, that is not a good sign. But the fact that it's dropping in a market that's dropping as well, it kind of muddies the signal a little bit. You don't know if the whole market is taking correction or just Tesla. You don't know how much is caused by the overall market versus Tesla itself. So that's definitely something to watch. But the other thing that I was saying, which I think might be more probable, is this little triangle formation happening. And you get the bottom here too. And you can see it's already kind of shaping shaping up that way, and I mentioned this in the last video. I said what we'll likely see going forward is that Tesla keeps consolidating into this tighter and tighter range. And sure enough, it's starting to do that. You're getting lower highs and then higher lows. And I'm saying a higher low here because by the time this hits the 50-day moving average, it's not going to be at the same area that it was back here, right? This moving average is constantly changing and it's going higher. So what you can keep getting, if it keeps testing right here, it goes up, hits the top of this line, comes down, hits the bottom here, top, bottom, until you get super compressed. And we've kind of seen that type of compression before. Just look right here. See how tight this price range is? And this is for a number of days. So what we're looking for is some type of breakout. And sure enough, after this tight compression, we got that breakout higher. So again, what is this? Voodoo technical analysis? No, it's just looking at the psychology of the market. It's digesting all this new information. And also Tesla has had a massive run, as you know. It's going to take time to consolidate before it makes a move higher or lower. And that's what you'll have to watch here. Is it going to break out of this triangle higher, or is it going to break lower? And obviously it breaks higher, bullish, breaks lower, bearish. And what we could end up seeing, and it's not out of the question because there's been such a massive run up, is that we see a consolidation until this next earnings report, which is coming on October 27th. So yeah, I doubt it's going to stay in this perfect pattern, but you'll just see it go sideways until that point. Then once again, we'll get that fundamental news that could give us another inflection point, and I'll make another one of these videos. And in my opinion, this type of consolidation is actually pretty healthy. And if you're a discretionary trader, it's going to give you another chance to add to your position or get in if you aren't in already. So that's my whole discretionary analysis on Tesla, which is a lot, right? Because you got to juggle so many different scenarios. Like, what if this happens? What if this happens? What am I going to do in this scenario? And that's basically why I moved away from discretionary trading, because there's too many factors. And I swear, the more you look at patterns like this, the more stuff you're going to see that just doesn't make sense. That's going to lead you astray. Like, I can make a bunch of different patterns here if I stare at this enough. That was always my problem with discretionary investing. I get too involved watching the news every day, watching the price, thinking, oh, what does this mean? What does this mean? You get sucked in and then you start making stupid decisions. And that's why I moved away from discretionary trading, which was screwing me up, into systematic trading, where everything is based off numbers. It's quant trading, if you heard of that. So in this strategy that I was telling you about before, the way we do it is with this TSI scanner. And what the TSI scanner does, it takes all the stocks in the NASDAQ and spits out a number telling us how strong their momentum is. So obviously the higher momentum a stock has, the more likely it is to go up. Really simplifies it. And you can see right here, Tesla is still number 2 on this list. Second highest momentum in the NASDAQ. So with our strategy, what we're doing is investing in the top 5 stocks in the NASDAQ with the highest momentum. And this momentum number is automatically calculated for us, which makes life a lot easier because we don't have to do all this analysis. We don't really have to worry about battery day or any other day. It just goes back to what are the quant numbers telling us. Very cut and dry. It wasn't simple to build this thing, but once you have it, then it is simple, and that's what you want in the market. So we're currently long Tesla, and we have all our targets in place, we have our stops in place. It's all pre-planned, based off a system that has worked for years and will continue to work. And it continues to work because it is based off a very robust idea of momentum. There's always going to be momentum in the market because markets are based off psychology and people. And you can see we're doing pretty good this year. We're up over 55%. And since 2008, we're up almost 2,030%, which is way better than what the NASDAQ has done. You can see the difference. This blue line is our strategy. Red line is the NASDAQ. Huge difference. And the difference is only growing every day. And like I was saying, with discretionary trading, I get sucked in and then I start doing stupid stuff. With systematic trading, I stay away from the market. I'm detached. I don't really care what's happening with the news because my system is already in place. So it really prevents a lot of over trading and stupid stuff. Only takes like 15 minutes a month to execute. Rest of the time, I'm just sitting there. Well, I'm not sitting there, I have a life, sort of. Not really. But it also fits into my motto of fallibility, which is another reason why I really like it. Because we just went over all this analysis, right? And all this scenario gaming and all this stuff, which can all get very complicated. And I know a lot of people, when they get into the stock market, they like to think that they know exactly what's going to happen because they did all their research. But really, the more research I do, or that I used to do, because I don't have to do research anymore. But at the end of the day, I was like, man, no matter how much I study this, the market is always going to know way more than I do. Like, I don't even think it's a factor of me not being smart enough or something, but this is just extremely complicated. It's like the most complex system in the entire universe, other than the universe itself, which is a different story. But the point is that once you realize that, you can sit back and say, hey, I don't need to be perfect at figuring this out. I don't need to have my ego involved with the market. Instead, let me get systematic and focus on profits instead of trying to predict stuff, which is what a lot of people do because they're not just in the market to make profits and grow their wealth. It's more about proving how smart you you are with analysis. Anyway, I like it. It suits me. It suits a lot of our Fallible members too. And if you want to learn how to use it, check out our free training here. Link in the description and comments. It's definitely worth your time. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel because we're going to keep tracking Tesla, see what's up, among many other things that we do on this channel. So subscribe, check out that training, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay fallible out there. Bye.